We took those criteria and put them in a matrix on one side here and the options across the top. So when we had 8 options, we quickly eliminated half of them, and these are the 4 we focused on, as I said. 2 addition renovations, 2 new construction. We developed those further, we developed costs, but we used the same sort of methodology with somewhat expanded but or slightly more defined criteria to evaluate these 4. And again, you may not be able to read all those things, I understand, but we did think about them, again, sort of objectively, and quickly eliminated and focused on C2A, rose to the top, partly because, fortunately, in a way, cost became almost a non-issue here. Sometimes in this situation, you know, the renovation could be slightly lower and new costs might be higher, and you start weighing the intangibles. Here, the renovation options were virtually the same cost, and in some cases higher, than new construction. And it was clear when you look at the green is good, the red is bad, at these matrices, by the way, that there's a lot more green in this column. And it became a relatively easy decision for us, I think for the building committee, that C2A made the most sense, is the best value overall for Stoughton, met the educational goals, had the best flexibility, future expansion, traffic flow on the site as well. And even though it's somewhat disruptive because it's being built on an athletic field, you're losing those fields while it's under construction. You don't lose a parking lot, which you do on C1A. So for a lot of reasons, C2A rose to the top. So quickly, let me show you what that looks like and how far we've developed it. Remember, there's a whole nother phase of design still coming, but we have, you know, thought a fair amount about it to date, but we're going to be working with the committee and the administration and so forth a great deal in the coming months. This is a view that gives you the idea. Here's the existing building on Pearl Street. The middle school is back here. This is where the new school would sit, directly kind of diagonally behind the existing building, but not really touching it, obviously. The existing building stands free and clear. The parking lot off Adams Street would not be disturbed. The parking lot off Pearl Street would not be disturbed. The bus connection to the middle school could continue. And the construction zone would basically be where the football field, track, soccer field, and tennis courts are now. That would be fenced off safely by barriers, and the entire school could be built in one phase. And then obviously once that can be occupied, this can be demolished and the fields and the driveways completed. So again, looking at it, here, there's a driveway from Pearl Street, a new soccer field inside a track, a new football field, new tennis courts would be completed after the school is occupied. It's a 3-story building. It's a compact footprint. That's one of the positive things about it, I think. With a distinct classroom wing. Again, the classroom's organized in clusters around a courtyard, and then there's sort of a community wing with a gym and auditorium and a linear lobby here next to the administration. And the library and cafeteria are in the center of the building. And it very much follows the educational program, the diagram for the school. There's a straight-on site plan of it now, again, turned a little different. North is up. Pearl Street is here. Adams Street is here. This is the same curb cut that exists today to enter the high school. It would be a gradual driveway sloping down because the elevation of this whole area is basically proposed to be the elevation of the current football field, which is about 8 or 10 feet below Pearl Street at that point. But this is the approach for both visitors and parents dropping off would be here. Buses would be on the back side of the school, so there's a front door and a back door coming into this common lobby. There's parking on 3 sides of the building, sort of efficiently laid out there. As I said, the buses still connect to middle school and to that existing parking lot off Cushing Street. And then once the new school is built, the fields get laid out around it. So here's the new track and soccer field, the new football field with bleachers, the new tennis court. So there's no net loss of recreational facilities there. It's exactly what's there today. And there is room for expansion of the classroom wing here on this green space as well. And you can see the limit of work is basically where that dividing driveway is. So this part of the site would be under, at different times under construction. The rest of the site would be untouched. So the middle school, its fields, baseball, softball, the West Elementary are untouched, unaffected by the construction. Here are the floor plans. Again, they're sort of single-line drawings, not developed to a great amount of detail, and we still have a few months ahead of us of working out a lot of the details. But this is the courtyard, basically, shape of the building. There's the courtyard there. Here's the main entrance, the front entrance, you might say, the back entrance. This is that linear lobby. The community wing is at the bottom of the plan, the classroom wing at the top of the plan. You can see the clusters of classrooms. It's one of the terms used, it's a small learning community where it's almost like a school within a school. So there are some large classrooms, some small group rooms, some science labs, boys and girls rooms, special ed spaces, storage, teachers' rooms. So you can imagine that, yes, this could be an English department the day you move in, but in 10 years this might be, a STEM academy. And there's an English classroom and a science lab and a group of children who are kind of housed in that space for most of the day. Students there in a freshman academy in another wing. So they're segregated. There are a host of ways it could operate. And you can see there's a good circulation pattern, a good flow through the school, and these are kind of neighborhoods off of that main street there. And also a couple other unique features of the building. We talked about the cafeteria and library being in the heart of the building. They really become almost an extension of the circulation area. They become common areas so that it's not just a lunchroom. The cafeteria really is an extension of the lobby. It can serve as a pre-function space for the auditorium or a basketball game in the gym there. It can be before school or after school space for students to utilize. It gets much more utilized than just a cafeteria. The music rooms back up the stage down here. We know there's a strong music program here. We want to have spaces that can accommodate that, including a new drama space there. The second floor, and on all three floors actually, the classroom wing is identical. It's very efficient. It stacks on 3 levels. On the other lower half of the building here, the gymnasium is on top of the locker rooms and weight room. The upper part of the auditorium is accessed from this upper lobby. And then again, in the heart of the building, on top of the cafeteria is the learning commons, library, if you will. But again, it's an extension of the hallways, an extension of the circulation space, so that, again, it could be used more than a traditional library might be, where you go in and shut the door and be quiet. This can be used before school, after school, for doing homework, for kids who are breaking out of a classroom here because they have to get together in a small group and work on a project and then go back to the classroom. It offers a lot of possibilities. And then the top floor, we have the superintendent's office, which is in the program, although we're discussing that, as well as the cable TV studio. And then again, the classrooms repeat and the art rooms are up here as well. So that's the basic layout. That's the view 3-dimensionally again, and if you give me a second, I can maneuver this a little bit. It might help you visualize. Let me see if I can go to that. So here's the view. Let me rotate it a little bit. You can see. So you can see right there how close the buildings will be during construction, but it's a good 30 feet, 40 feet probably of separation, a reasonable separation space there. But when it is all done, it will look like that. This is the entrance from Pearl Street, and approaching it, there is a gradual slope down, and in the front here are cars, so this is the parent drop-off side. The other important feature here, and again, this is just a massing model, but is this slice of light through the building, which would probably have a lot of glass. The rest of the building would be fairly straightforward and economical. But these materials here, this is a translucent material to get light into the gym, but this is that linear lobby, which will have glass at either end, and it could have that same translucent material for a roof as well. So that's probably enough. I could play with this a lot for you, but just so you can see. Again, I'll back up a little bit, but if we rotate here. So this sloped roof here is also translucent material. They get light into the center of the building. And then just to swing around to the other side here. So that's the bus drop-off. You can see some of the contours there. This is the track. It's fairly close to the middle school. That's the closest part of the construction that comes to the middle school. If I back off here, you can see right where the middle school is there. So right here on the corner is the corner of the middle school. This is Cushing Street here, and that parking lot that exists now. So that parking lot remains. This new bus drop-off connects to it, and all the high school fields are developed within that area there. Okay, I think we'll move on then and get back to the PowerPoint right there.
So,
and then Tim wanted to talk about cost.
Yep, thank you, Carl. So, as Carl showed you on the matrix, there was a line, obviously cost is an important criteria the committee used to look at the preferred option and arrive at their decision. So this is the matrix of cost of the 4 finalist options that Carl reviewed. I do want to just point out, as you can see in the red, at this stage, this is not a budget. This is not the budget that the town would be asked to vote on. That'll come in April. We just need something to have a comparative cost analysis. So to each other, they're all relative, and we, as much as possible with the detail we had, tried to be as accurate as we could with the cost, but this is not a budget. The MSBA hasn't told us all of what the reimbursable cost would be yet. That comes again in the spring. The reimbursement rate has certain flexibility depending on what incentive points we get, so it's really just intended to sort of inform the committee at this point so they can make an educated decision. This is all the cost for the project. It's not the construction cost alone, so it has, including the feasibility phase, which the town has already appropriated, but it has the administration and the design costs. It has the contingency that we expect, and it has at this stage of the process, pretty robust contingencies, because we would want to make sure that hopefully we're being as conservative as possible. As you can see in the renovation options, while at least in the case of B2, which was the one that had more significant renovation, the construction cost was less than the new construction. When you added in the miscellaneous swing space costs and temporary costs to move students to while the construction was going on, and when you took into account some of the other factors, in the end, roughly at $70.8 million to the town versus the 71 roughly on the 71.5 on the new options. From our standpoint, we consider this pretty cost neutral at this point. That's well within the margin of error. B3 does stand alone pretty obviously as being, significantly more money because it had a lot more complications in its phasing, even though it was more new school than renovation. So that's the cost comparison sheet that drew the conclusion that essentially this decision was essentially cost neutral. I do want to just touch quickly on the schedule. If assuming the town approves the project, assuming the MSBA approves the project, and assuming the town approves the project in the beginning of the summer next year, we would expect that it'll be about a year of finishing the design and bidding the project. So the construction would start in the summer of 2017. And then it's about 2 years to build the new high school. So it would be occupied in the fall of 2019. And then there's a year of demolition and demolition of the existing school and site improvements in the fields that will come in the place of the existing school. So essentially, it's about a 3-year project in total, but the school would be occupied. Right now, the plan is in the fall of 2019.